All right, so let's get into it. I'll just go down some of the folks because I do wonder if that's the case, right? You think about the top three. No one ever thought Biden was going to run again, but I had to start with him. I think Harris, I'm with you on. Tim Walz, I'm with you on. So let's just start. Your old boss, Jared Polis, governor of Colorado. Is he somebody that's got these kind of ambitions? And if so, what's his lane?
He definitely has the ambition. I mean, Jared is young. He's made a ton of money. His family had money as well. So I think, what does one do next when they've been a successful politician? He is interesting because I think he's going to try to run in what is going to be really for the first time in a long time, a libertarian wing of the Democratic Party. He's very pro-business. He's very pro-capital markets. But by the same token, he, like his state, is very much a kind of social libertarian. Leave us alone. He's been for marijuana, for legalizing gay marriage. He is gay, for those who don't know that. And so I think the progressives like him because he's been their champion for years on stuff before it was cool. And the business community has historically been pretty good with him. The question is, are there enough of those voters to win a primary in our party? It's hard, but maybe.
All right. So what about another governor, J.B. Pritzker? What Illinois governor made his state a sanctuary state? Is he playing in the progress? I mean, the guy's got a boatload of cash. So I mean that's the big X factor where you can just write the check. That takes the Dan Turrentine professional fundraising question off the table. So does J.B. Pritzker? I got to be honest with you. I mean, I know this sounds but appearance matters. This does not look like a guy who is gearing up to run for president.
Yeah, and look, full disclosure for your viewers, my brother-in-law's wife works for him. But I have not had too many chats recently with her about this. But look, he is clearly trying to fill that progressive lane. For those who don't know, his State of the State speech, he spent about a third of it talking about how this basically comparing Trump to Hitler. He then, comes out and says basically that we have to be, protest as much as humanly possible, be disruptive, do everything we can to stop him. He is truly trying to kind of muscle AOC, into that wing, kind of the most red hot progressive in the party. I think part of the strategy is you can't win the general, obviously, without winning the primary. So He thinks, okay, this is a path. And then, as you say, his family founded Hyatt Hotels. He is, he was born on, I forget, third base. He was born an inch from home with a couple $1 billion in his pocket. And he's very, sophisticated in business. And I think he believes if I get the nomination, look, I'm a Pritzker. I'm wealthy. I have interests all over the country. The business community won't be threatened. I don't know how he thinks you can get away with that in this day and age where, it's really hard to make that. 40 years ago, you could kind of pivot to the middle than the general. I also just think the history of being the most progressive in our party does not usually win the primary. And that, to me, I just don't really understand what he's doing.
All right. So let's move a little in the same area there. Governor Gretchen Whitmer. What about her?
Yeah, you, Mark, and I have kind of gone back and forth on this. I think she's impressive. And I think her working with Trump, I am going to assume that Trump will be at worst where he is now, if not slightly better in 3 years, right? He's such a good political athlete. I just can't see him collapsing. So working with Trump, I think is going to give her the opportunity to fill that moderate lane with, I put some points on the board. I've worked with this guy when I need to, and I've stood my ground when I need to. I know she had some photo ops that don't look good, but I don't think anyone will remember that 3 years from now.
All right. We're in the governor world here. Andy Beshear of Kentucky. I don't think he's been making it clear. I'm in this. I don't know. I mean, he's young. He's won what is perceived to be a red state, even though I think that's not entirely accurate in terms of. But what are his prospects, and who does he appeal to?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy because on paper he looks amazing. I think he actually has been one of the best spokespeople on the tariff issue, talking about companies in his state, and he's had McConnell and Rand Paul kind of saying the same thing, which is hard to have a governor of one party and senators from the other all sing from the same hymnal. But boy, he is milquetoast. Like, he is not going to light a room on fire. You and I laughed at his one podcast that he's, started here because it was so like lights, camera, action. It sounded almost like an SNL spoof of like him.
Right. What you're supposed to look like.
Yeah. And so I think if the voters say, I want somebody, and I'm not being snarky here, that's kind of dull and not exciting, right? Maybe like the opposite of Trump a little bit. Maybe he is that person. But otherwise, I just don't see him walking into a state and lighting it on fire.
All right, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania. Everybody thought he should have been the pick last time for VP. Obviously, he held out. Does he have what lane does he fill? And is he someone that you're high on?
Yeah, I'm very high on him. I would put him at the top of that moderate lane. And I think that, Whitmer, we kind of laugh about that she's had some cringe moments. Beshear is kind of milquetoast. Shapiro's the whole package. And I think to his credit, when he got tagged during the primary vetting as being too in support of Israel, you have two options when that happens. You can either kind of try to wiggle out of it a little to say, oh, I'm sympathetic with the Palestinians and kind of try to have it both ways. Or you can just say, yep, that's who I am. And I think he's going to be rewarded that he did not and has not to date changed positions to appease the left. And that in our party historically has actually proven pretty successful.
Okay. So the last governor that I think I want to hit is Gavin Newsom. I feel like he's so slick. I don't know. I'm not a Democrat, so I don't think that it's odd that he doesn't appeal to me at all. But I think he tries too hard.
We lost. We lost the popular vote and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of the issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand at the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
And I don't know where does he fit within this structure?
So Mark and I have gone back and forth on this. I'm not as high on Gavin Newsom because to me, the problem that he's going to have is the state of California. And I know that everyone can, he is very good at all the statistics of why California's economy is pretty strong. And I just think the problem he's going to have is what Kamala Harris had, which is most people's first thought of California these days is businesses fleeing, residents fleeing, the homelessness problem, San Francisco kind of in decay, Los Angeles. I don't think he really helped himself with those wildfires. Again, he might have done a great job, but some of those early images of him running from reporters, running from constituents, trying to track him down, I just don't see how he can kind of come out and say, I'm a moderate, which is what he's trying to do now with all these solutions, when the Republicans are just going to say, look at your own state. Like, I think J.B. Pritchard's going to have the same problem. I mean, Chicago's a war zone.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.